Australia's deepest downturn in 100 years. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. I thought we'd have a look at this article that was sent to me by a few viewers from Bloomberg regarding Australia's deepest downturn. Now, the subheading here that we can see, it is likely it will take years for wage growth and inflation to bounce back. I just think that's funny, because wage growth isn't doing particularly well. So let's have a look at this. And I've had some people comment in the Discord and other things, wage growth, but then you argue for less government involvement in wages. We need a high minimum wage. That'll make it grow. No, that's not how it works. Whenever the government gets into the market, manipulates it, that'll drive work overseas. It'll mean less money spent in our nation. It means more automation and, well, reduced wage growth, what we're seeing here. Less demand and less competition for people. So the best solution will be for the government to step back, to allow the market more involvement. But I somehow don't think we're heading down that path. What do you reckon, everyone? So Australia appears to have succeeded in flattening the pandemic curve, but such an optimistic health outcome won't prevent the economy from experiencing a deep downturn. A base case anticipates the largest contraction since the 1930 and 31 Great Depression. Let's just dwell on that on a moment. Do you think our government, regardless of which side, would have the gumption to just step back and let the market correct? Or do you think they'll try and fix it? Oh boy. Significant stimulus, both monetary and fiscal, is cushioning households and helping businesses to survive and retain workers. Despite this, Australia's small, open economy has already seen considerable damage and faces headwinds from subdued global demand and trade. Significant monetary fiscal coordination to provide further stimulus will be required to recover the economy over the years ahead. Now, Australia is a small economy on the global scale of things. We're not that advanced with what we can produce. I will bring up OECD and Harvard for people who are not familiar with it. And what we will do is we will have a look. We'll have a look just at the complexity of Australia's economy. I know this is something I tend to harp on for the regular viewers, but remember, it's always the first time someone has seen this. So we're 59th in the world with the complexity, and we produce a lot of natural resources. We're a quarry, some farming goods, a bit of gold. Australia's the biggest iron ore producer in the world. We import a lot of things. Yesterday in the comments, a viewer was mentioning what was happening in Argentina. He said he was looking at the house prices there, so I've been kind of obsessing over it for the last 2 days, looking at it all last night, because the cost of all of their imports will shoot up significantly, and that'll affect the quality of life, and that could happen here. But the funny thing is, the whole world, the US are going in a money printing frenzy. So it's dropping their currency. All countries are competing with QE to drop their currencies. So we'll have to see who wins this race. Because how long will it be before people overseas lose faith in the American currency more than they've lost faith in their own governments? That's an interesting point, a comment another viewer made on another video. Because it's something to consider. So, nevertheless, Australia's got not a very advanced economy with regards to the complexity of what we can produce. So we really are dependent on a lot of our foreign partners for trade. And the biggest one is China. And right now we're in the midst of the beginnings of a diplomatic incident and a spat between the two civilizations. One, I don't think we're positioned to ride out without them. China pretty much saved Australia during the GFC because of their increased demand for our resources. The building education revolution, well, putting up extra tennis courts, demolishing other buildings and replacing them, putting a new roof on a building that already had a perfectly fine roof. That doesn't get you smarter, does it? So let's have a look. We anticipate 3 consecutive quarters of declining gross domestic product, with Australia's economy contracting by 9% from quarter 4 2019, before a gradual recovery begins in quarter 4 2020. We do not expect a recovery to pre-outbreak levels until 2H or second half of 2022. 2022. So remember, the RBA, whose fantastic and stellar ability to predict wage growth, are predicting, what is it, a 6% fall this year and then a 6% increase next year. I get the feeling someone just did the mirror command like you do in CAD. For 2020, our base case estimate remains a 6% contraction, unchanged from previous projections. The better than expected virus containment would boost 2021 growth from 1.6% to 2.5%. A potential second wave of outbreak remains the main downside risk. That's going to be interesting to see if that occurs. And then what will happen to the market then? Because, guys, this is going to be a slow-moving process, what will be happening to the economy, what will be happening to a lot of people. Monetary policy has shifted to support fiscal policy and foster financial stability. The overnight cash rate is expected to remain on hold through to at least 2022, with ongoing quantitative easing to contain yields amid rising issuance as fiscal packages and automatic stabilizers kick in. How far the unemployment rate rises depends on participation trends. Labour market slack is set to linger for years, which will depress wages growth and inflation. The largest financial year contraction in Australian GDP in 90 years. Well, that's what they're predicting. Australia's apparent success in containing the illness outbreak has paved the way for the economy to emerge earlier from an economic hibernation than was anticipated to last for 6 months. But this process is likely to be gradual and won't prevent a significant economic downturn. Compared to our previous forecasts, what has changed is the extent and timing of the hit to the economy from measures taken to confront the health crisis. There's been a significant pull forward of retail spending, quarter 1 2020. This will weigh on consumer spending in quarter 2 2020, creating a deeper contraction then. Just think about that, guys. That's huge. This is a non-trivial risk. There's a non-trivial risk. The shopping splurge prevents Australia's economy from contracting in quarter 1, though we think this is unlikely given the possible declines in non-retail sectors of household consumption and the broader economic activity. We are less confident in seeing the contraction in activity persist through quarter 3 2020. We currently anticipate a small fall in quarter 3 GDP, though this is highly dependent on high virus restrictions being unwound. The lifting of restrictions will enable businesses to restart. Will they all restart? Will they all restart? But stoking demand may not be as easy given hits to household and business confidence and damage to balance sheets. Well, guys, if we bring up here business confidence, I need to say anything. It's a red line on this chart, guys. It's plunged. It's just plunged. Resumption of economic activity will also be accompanied by some unwinding of temporary fiscal measures, which could dampen incomes and demands. This is the thing, guys. If you are in a situation where, if you're on the dole and you're getting extra money, I'd pay down debt, number one. I would get rid of all debt that you can. Get out of that. And then save what you can. Hoard cash. As a small open economy, the weak global economic backdrop may also constrain Australia's economic recovery. Further risks of a second wave of outbreak, most likely imported, mean that restrictions on international travel are unlikely to be eased promptly. while Australia's international borders will be kept closed for a further 3 to 4 months. The potential loosening of movement restrictions within virus-free zones, such as with New Zealand, does present an upside risk to the outlook. Well, isn't a quarter of New Zealand's population here anyway? They really should just, join the Federation. Preliminary estimates from the labour market confirm that containing the virus has come at a great cost. Despite the substantial fiscal response, the grim reality is that not all businesses and jobs will be saved. Fiscal policy will need to pivot from economic survival to stimulus and recovery as the virus gets under control. The overhang in the labour market is likely to be more pronounced than traditional headline indicators suggest. A forecast incorporates a sharp rise in the unemployment rate. But even still, the true picture of the shedding in labour demand or degree of excess labour supply is likely to be obscured by declines in participation and reductions in hours per employee. And the Job Seeker program, might I add, Job Keeper payment, which is essentially hiding the real unemployment rate at the moment. And there's some horrific stories coming out of that. Rachel mentioned it, a mother on a Facebook group who has a special needs child. Her employer was insisting she come to work for extra hours because that is what is required, because you can't do a part payment of the Job Seeker. So they can ask you to work all the hours to meet that $1,500. And remember, the employers, they've had to pay that out of their own money before they get anything back from the tax department. So this poor lady is being, forced to come to work, and she's having to refuse it. What can happen? It's an entire mess. Getting the private businesses tied up in this. I can understand the advantage of maintaining that relationship, but what are we paying all these social services and these bureaucrats for then? Anyway, as assistance payments taper and social distancing measures are gradually wound back, labour force participation and subsequently the unemployment rate is likely to rise. The significant dislocation within the labour market will probably linger for an extended period, even though economic growth may bounce back. The economy will have to run hot or above potential for an extended period to not only re-engage unemployed workers, but to absorb underlying growth in the labour supply. Do you think Australia is ready to run hot? This will weigh on already depressed wage growth for an extended period. So it looks like we're not going to get wage growth for an extended period, guys. And this is just simply a indicator of the labour market. Supply and demand. In turn, prospects for wage-driven inflationary pressures are dim. Firms are unlikely to face a demand environment that's conducive to lifting prices for some time. This will in part be compounded by households seeking to rebuild wealth through boosting savings, which risks postponing or muting the demand recovery. On balance, this forces mean monetary policy will remain accommodative for an extended period in coordinating with fiscal policy. The stronger and more sustained the fiscal response, the faster economies will be able to heal. Will we ever be able to heal? We need to get out of this mess of constant monetary and fiscal policy working hand in hand. Remember, everything they create is just another taxation. Inflation is pretty much another tax, effectively, to our spending power. Just have a look up the house prices in Argentina, guys. Just look them up. Seriously, I'm going to do a video on it. It's crazy. There has to be something wrong in the websites I'm visiting. There are upsides and downside risks to our outlook. Effective policy support in Australia, China, and the rest of the world could help the economy stage a stronger rebound, but the downside risks are considerable. Another flare-up of illness cases domestically could lead to Australia reinstituting another lockdown. Even assuming more moderate containment measures, the result will be a double dip for Australia's growth rate. We estimate that a second outbreak would prompt a contraction of around 3% in quarter 4 of 2020 and lead to a contraction of 2.1% in 2021. Will we be able to avoid a second outbreak? Will it be possible with all the international travel? They'll have to start checking everyone. Will they do it? The extent of any scarring, even after a better than expected resumption of activity and significant government efforts, the lingering damage to the economy may prove greater than we've assumed. Damaged households and business balance sheets could crimp activity, resulting in a longer than expected recovery. On the upside, Australia could experience a better than expected containment and recovery. This could be further boosted by a potential twinning of Australia's economy with New Zealand, which has experienced similar success in controlling the outbreak. The establishment of a trans-Tasman bubble, which might experience more relaxed movement of people and activity, could result in stronger and earlier recovery for both economies. Okay, that sounds good. And sure, I imagine the Kiwis have some impact on our international tourism, and we do with them. But let's jump over here and have a look. New Zealand is the destination for 1.8% of our exports. $4.5 billion. 4.5 billion, guys. China's 85 billion. New Zealand is the origin of 2.8% of our imports. What is that? About 5.8 billion before it stopped working. There we go. Sorry, 5.6 billion. So, great. That could make some small impact, but I doubt it. It won't offset the losses of other countries. So there we go, everyone. Bloomberg's take on Australia entering its worst crash in 100 years. 100 years. So what do you think, everyone? What do you think? Do you believe the RBA, with their prediction 6% down, 6% up, or this slightly more pessimistic approach? As always, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and you want to support us, there are a few ways you can. You can join the channel on YouTube or on Patreon. You can support us via our affiliate links at Amazon or eBay, or Independent, Reserve, or Kucoin. You can send us gold using Gold Pass, support us via Amazon, support us via PayPal, or buy our merch from HeiseSays. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next video.